Have you ever wondered why some men can awaken a deep desire in women, even without being the most handsome, rich, or funny? There is something invisible, but powerful, that activates the female emotional side in an almost uncontrollable way. And if you still don't understand what it is, this video will open your eyes in a way that no woman has ever had the courage to do. The truth is that within feminine psychology applied to attraction and relationships, there is a specific characteristic, present in few men, that generates immediate emotional attraction. It's not just about appearance. It's not about ready-made phrases. It's about the silent psychological effect that touches a woman's mind and feelings without her realizing it. That's what separates ordinary men from those who get inside her head and simply never leave. And if you've tried everything, felt rejected, ignored, or just another one, know that the problem is not you. It's what you still don't understand about how female desire really works. While most men react to what she says, the emotionally strategic man responds to what she feels. And that's when everything starts to change. Women don't connect with logic. They connect with emotional presence, with an attitude that conveys security, with behaviors that trigger invisible triggers in the subconscious. You'll see in this video that true attraction isn't about getting lucky. It's about understanding the female mind on levels that even she doesn't know about. And the more you master this, the more she'll start to miss you, even in silence. And that's exactly when she starts to wonder why she can't stop thinking about you. And the most amazing thing, even she won't understand exactly why, but you will. Because here, you're entering a universe where attraction is not luck, is applied emotional intelligence, where your every gesture, every silence, every well-placed word becomes a tool for conquest. And if you've come this far, it's because you're part of a select group of men who want more than crumbs of attention. Men who seek to understand what really moves women's feelings and want to learn how to influence this in a strategic, elegant, and emotionally powerful way. Now tell me, are you ready to play at another level? If so, comment below with "I control the connection" or "I am the presence she feels," because men like you are building a new identity, and it starts with the right knowledge. This is the place where you learn, transform, and become part of a community that believes in unfiltered feminine psychology, direct, strategic, and deeply magnetic. Did you like this approach? So like this video now and subscribe to the channel, because each new piece of content I bring here could be the one that will turn your game around, not only in love, but even in the way you see yourself. Yes, this has an impact on your self-esteem, your confidence, and even your financial results. Because when you master your emotions, everything starts to flow. And now that you understand what's coming, let's get straight to the point. When a man understands the hidden codes of female psychology, he stops acting like most men and starts to influence her emotions in a silent but powerful way. And that's when everything changes. Women notice, they feel it, even without knowing how to explain it. Because true emotional attraction doesn't scream, force, or beg. It happens when you access the right triggers, those that activate deep instincts in a strategic, subtle, and emotional way. You don't need to be the most handsome, the most talkative, or the richest. You need to be the most emotionally intelligent. And that, my brother, can be learned. Here, on this channel, you learn to interpret the signals she gives without saying a word. You learn to use silence as a weapon. You learn to speak directly to the part of her brain that controls desire, attachment, and feelings of urgency. It's not magic. It's neuroscience applied to relationships, pure, unfiltered female psychology, and I'm here to show you the way. But I need to know if you're with me on this journey. Comment below, "I am the man she feels," or I don't need to say, "I'll show," if you are part of this community of strategic, conscious men who no longer accept living in the dark when it comes to conquest. And of course, if this content is moving you, if it made you think differently, like now, and subscribe to the channel. This isn't just a button. It's the first step to entering a new level of emotional control, self-confidence, and magnetism. And what I'm going to show you now is the exact point where everything starts to change in the way she sees you. And the most interesting thing is that this characteristic is not linked to what you show on the outside, but to what you represent emotionally. When a man develops this invisible presence based on emotional security, firm body language, and internal control, he begins to occupy a space in the female mind that no other man can reach. Women connect with vibrations, with feelings that you awaken without having to say anything. And this connection is much more powerful than any compliment, gift, or forced effort to impress. Female psychology responds to subtle gestures, micro-expressions, the tone of voice, the rhythm of your gaze. And if you learn to master this, she will feel something different when she is around you, something that she does not feel with others, something that she cannot resist. That is why today, in this video, you will understand how to develop exactly this characteristic, the one that makes her feel that she needs your presence, even when you are not around. You will realize that true attraction is not born from excess, but from mystery, from control, from emotional strategy. And when you activate this type of attraction, you stop chasing and start being remembered, desired, sought after. But for that, you need to be willing to become an extraordinary man. A man who understands the female emotional codes clearly. A man who provokes feelings, not just reactions. So, if this is the type of man you are ready to become, comment below. I am the impact she feels, or my presence speaks louder than my words. These comments show that you are part of a select group that has mastered the art of strategic attraction. This is for those who refuse to accept being invisible. It is for those who want to be unforgettable. And from now on, he told me this with a mixture of surprise and pride. He said he had never understood why he was so often ignored, even though he was a good, hardworking, attentive guy. Until one day, watching a video like this, something made sense. He realized that the problem was not what he was offering, but how he was positioning himself emotionally. He was always trying to please, to prove his worth, to show that he was different. But it was only when he learned to master his own silence, to control his reactions, to adjust his emotional presence strategically, that everything began to change. She began to notice him differently. She began to respond without delay. She began to approach him without him making an effort. He didn't change his appearance or his bank account. He changed his energy. He changed his behavior. He began to use applied feminine psychology not to manipulate, but to communicate on another level. And this awakened an emotional curiosity in her that no other man has been able to activate. And I want you to understand this. The key is knowing how to provoke the right kind of sensation. It's not about winning over with pretty words. It's about triggering her instincts, the ones that respond to emotionally aligned men, strategically present, who know the power of a restrained attitude, of a well-measured absence, of a calculated response. And the most important thing is that any man can learn this, as long as he's willing to step out of the zone of constant approval. So if you really want to start this turnaround, comment here. I am an emotional presence, or I don't need to prove, I provoke. It's these little statements that show who's ready to apply everything that strategic feminine psychology has to offer. Because now comes the part where this has to do with what you convey without opening your mouth. When a man exudes emotional security, he sends invisible signals that directly reach the female unconscious. She perceives in his behavior that he is not desperate for validation, that he is not trying to impress, that he does not need her approval to feel sufficient. And that is precisely what makes her feel attracted, because the female brain associates this security with the instinct for protection, leadership, and stability. Female psychology responds faster to what she feels in you than to what she hears from you. That is why men who understand this stop trying to convince and start attracting women by the way they position themselves emotionally. While most men chase attention, those who are emotionally secure create presence, a presence that commands respect, desire, and curiosity. And this presence is built through controlling one's own emotions, the ability to remain calm in conflict situations, and firmness in one's attitudes. This is what conveys emotional strength. And every woman, even the most independent, feels this, because it is something rare. It is something that stands out. It is something that cannot be bought, but rather developed with strategy, with intention, with mastery of emotional language and applied feminine psychology. It is not about playing mind games, but about understanding the real dynamics that exist between a man's behavior and a woman's emotional response. So if you understand the power that exists in this silent security, comment here. My calm is what attracts, or I am the balance she seeks, because that is the basis of everything that comes next. And what going to show you now is the second point that completely transforms the way she feels your presence. And this reading happens unconsciously, automatically. A woman may not be able to explain why, but she feels it when she is in front of a man who carries an energy of true calm. It is not that forced, rehearsed calm, masked by ready-made phrases. It is a tranquility that comes from within, from the real control of one's own emotions, from silent self-confidence, from internal security. This activates the feminine instinct in a much deeper way than a compliment or a flashy message. Female psychology recognizes this type of presence as a sign of stability and emotional power. And in today's world, where most men react with impulsiveness, neediness, or excessive need, the one who knows how to maintain his posture with serenity becomes immediately magnetic. It is as if his emotional field says, I am here, I do not run, I observe, I choose. And this moves her in a way that words never can. A man who transmits this energy of calm begins to be seen as someone who can guide, protect, and arouse emotional curiosity. And no matter how much she tries to rationalize, her mind responds to this frequency. The energy of masculine calm breaks down feminine anxiety. It reduces fear, increases surrender, creates openness. And if you learn to sustain this energy at the right moments, even when it tests you, even when silence dominates the conversation, you begin to occupy a space in her mind that no other can. If this resonates with you, write in the comments below, I am the center, not the chaos, or my calm attracts more than my words. These signs show that you are understanding how true attraction begins. And what comes next is the point where most fail. But whoever masters it turns the game around completely. And this 1% is not the most beautiful, nor the ones who talk the most, and much less the ones who chase. They are the ones who know how to use indifference as an emotional tool and not as a game or manipulation. They understood that a man's value is not in insistence, but in selectivity. When you demonstrate, subtly and firmly, that you don't need her attention to feel good, but that you still choose her with clarity and attitude, this creates a powerful emotional conflict within the female mind. Female psychology responds intensely to this feeling of being desired, but not dominated, sought after, but not pursued, attracted, but not controlled, and this paradox activates what we call emotional tension, one of the biggest triggers of desire. Because the man who knows how to walk away at the right time, the man who remains silent when necessary, the man who doesn't react on impulse but rather through strategy, that's the man she starts looking for. Strategic indifference is not coldness, it's emotional clarity, it's knowing your worth, it's not negotiating your peace to please. And that's exactly why this trait is so rare. Most people act out of anxiety, fear of losing, insecurity disguised as care. But a man who masters this skill makes her want his validation without ever asking for it. He makes her miss your presence without you having to demand it. And if you're willing to develop this level of emotional control and influence, comment here, I choose, I don't beg, or my silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. Because this type of attitude begins to shape her desire in a profound way. And what I'm going to reveal to you now is the exact moment when everything intensifies even more. And it is precisely at this point that many men sabotage themselves without realizing it. They practice what they are going to say, memorize phrases, try to impress with words, but they ignore the most powerful instrument of attraction, the silent language of the body. When a man walks firmly, without rushing, with his chin up and his shoulders relaxed, he communicates presence. When he looks you in the eye steadily, without looking away, without rushing to respond, he imposes magnetism. When he pauses before speaking, when he maintains silence without discomfort, when he occupies the room with poise, he transmits an invisible message. I am the center. I dominate the scene. Female psychology absorbs this type of signal more intensely than any verbal compliment, because the body transmits what the mind believes. And when your body language reflects emotional confidence, self-control, and authenticity, attraction happens effortlessly. She begins to pay attention to you even when she tries to pretend she is not looking, because there is something about you that is felt, not explained. And that something is what differentiates the man she desires from the man she forgets. This type of communication is not learned by pretending. It is built with practice, with awareness, with the decision to become the kind of man who transmits strength even in silence. So, if you are taking this emotional stance, write here in the comments, my body speaks before my mouth, or I am presence before being a word. This reinforces your commitment to a new identity, because the next point I'm going to show you is one that creates a lasting emotional impact, even when you're no longer around. And the secret lies in how you build your emotional presence while you're around. A common mistake men make is to believe that in order to be remembered, they need to always be present, always sending messages, always making themselves visible. But applied female psychology shows the opposite. The lasting impact happens when your presence is built with emotional intensity and not with excessive contact. When you show yourself to be authentic, emotionally aligned, selective, and firm in every action, you engrave your image in her emotional memory. And that's exactly what makes her think of you, even in your absence. Silence becomes important. Pausing generates expectation. Absence is not interpreted as neglect, but as mastery of one's own energy. And that's what triggers continuous desire. Not because you disappear randomly, but because you delivered moments of real presence, of intense emotional connection, of security, of strategy. You became an emotional reference. Her mind begins to repeat your gestures, your phrases, your reactions. And this happens because you knew how to plant strong emotional signals while you were present. This is true emotional presence after contact. You continue to exist in her head even when you don't send anything, even when you don't show up, even when you decide to withdraw with purpose. And the more emotionally mature this woman is, the more she will connect with this type of energy. If this makes sense to you, write here in the comments, "I am a memory when I am not," or "She thinks about me because I leave emotional marks." This will show that you are ready to master the invisible field of attraction, the field where few men play, but where those who do are never forgotten. And it is precisely at this point that you start to realize that winning over a woman emotionally and strategically has nothing to do with insistence, flattery, or empty promises. It has to do with positioning, with controlling your energy, with emotional control. This is what separates forgettable men from unforgettable men. The kind of men who don't need to beg for attention, because they know exactly how to activate the right triggers in a woman's mind. And now that you understand the difference between acting on instinct and acting on emotional intelligence, between seeking acceptance and provoking silent desire, it's time to take the next step. In the video that's appearing on the screen, I'm going to show you how to apply all of this in a real conversation, including in the messages you send. I'm going to teach you which words create an emotional bond, which gestures generate attraction from a distance, and how to transform every interaction with her into something that sticks in her mind and heart. And yes, when you master this, she'll think about you before going to sleep. She'll remember the way you look at her. She'll start dreaming about your presence, even without understanding why. So if you've made it this far, comment now. I am the man she dreams of. This shows me that you are among those who absorb, apply, and evolve. Leave your like, because this content is designed to transform your perception and your reality with women. And subscribe to the channel right now, because this is where you will learn what no one teaches you about attraction, desire, and applied female psychology. And don't leave without clicking on the next video, because that's where you will learn to leave your emotional mark with your first words. Go there now. I'll wait for you there.